Hello my dear friends, you're in the Melitopol Summary channel. In this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have a lots of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about the conflict on the territory of Ukraine, and we will discuss the situation with the logistics through the southern regions. These days, we start receiving less and less videos where we could see how the Ukrainians were attacking the logistics of Russia. I would like to remind you that 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were receiving hundreds of videos on this matter. We were receiving hundreds of videos of how the Ukrainians were attacking Russian trucks, how the Ukrainians were attacking gas stations, fuel trucks, and so on. And these days, we stopped receiving anything. Some sources may say that this situation is connected with the previous massive attack carried out by Russians when the Russians managed to destroy warehouses or the production sites. But telling the truth, the reason of this situation, of this significant reduction, is completely different. Today we start receiving reports that the Russians deployed the Starlink jamming system. Russia has begun deploying the system to jam Starlink satellite communications. This is a very important situation, and this is the picture of this jamming system. These systems are being set up near the Novopavlivka highway to intercept American-Ukrainian Hornet drones. The Ukrainians first discovered this development when their drones began losing satellite control in the area where the jamming systems were being deployed. The official name of the complex is unknown, but it is believed to be called Volga Kupol Garant, which jams the Starlink signal over an area of 20 square kilometers, affecting either data transmission channels with a bandwidth of 62.5 MHz. So this is the situation right now. As we can see, the Russians managed to find a solution, and according to information we have, now the Russians are trying to reinforce the southern regions with this Starlink jamming system. The Ukrainians, as we understand from this article, managed to discover this situation, and during the previous 24 hours we received at least 2 videos where Ukrainians were trying to discover these systems and to destroy them. This video was published yesterday, and here we can see the city of Melitopol, and here we can see this Starlink jamming system. As you can see, there are 6 vehicles in this area. The Ukrainians managed to discover these vehicles, this equipment, and then the Ukrainians tried to attack this territory with a drone. As a result of attack, one system was damaged, probably damaged badly, or probably even destroyed. But these systems are the main reason why the Ukrainians stopped using their drones to attack the logistics of Russia in this area. Later we received another video, and this time from the settlement, from the area of the settlement of Prymorsk. Here we can see the same picture. This video describes the situation during the 14th of June of 2026, and here we can see this anti-Starlink system, Starlink jamming system. Once again, 6 vehicles were deployed by Russians along the shore of the Azov Sea, and when the Ukrainians discovered these systems, the Ukrainians began attacking them with drones. As a result of attack, this jamming system probably was damaged or even destroyed. So as you can see, the Russians found a solution, but the most important thing, according to pro-Russian sources, that this system could be discovered easily by the Ukrainians. So the Ukrainians have no problems to discover positions of these systems, which means that the Russians must build hundreds of thousands of them, and this system must be cheap. If it is possible, then the Russians will be able to reinforce the entire line of combat contact with these systems, and from this very moment the Ukrainians will lose the benefit of the Starlink system. As of now, we see that the Russians have just begun deploying these systems mainly through the logistics of the southern regions. As of the previous days, the Ukrainians managed to discover 2 of these systems and to destroy them, but even despite the fact that they managed to destroy them, we see that the number of videos where the Ukrainians were attacking the logistics of Russians through the southern regions have reduced significantly, and this is a very important situation. Now let's move further and let's discuss massive or daily attacks. During the previous night, both the Russians and the Ukrainians attacked each other. The Minister of Defense of Ukraine reported that the Russians used 119 drones to attack the territory of Ukraine, and according to information we have, the Russians were mainly attacking gas stations. According to media, the Russians destroyed a gas station on the territory of the settlement of Trostinets. In this picture we can see the consequences of this attack. The gas station was completely reduced to ruins. Furthermore, according to information we have, the Russians destroyed a gas station in the area of the settlement of Krynichki. Here we have pictures of these gas stations, and here we have a full video where we can see a vehicle destroyed in the area of the gas station, and here we can see that the gas station was badly damaged by Russians during the overnight attack. Furthermore, today several pro-Ukrainian sources stated that currently there are no more gas stations on the territory of the Sumy region that are malfunctioning. So the Russians, as of the beginning of the 17th of June of 2026, have destroyed every single gas station on the territory of the Sumy region, and obviously this will deal significant damage to the logistics of the armed force of Ukraine in this area, and it will obviously intensify the Russian offensive in the direction of the city of Sumy itself. Another important thing, during the previous night, explosions were recorded through the city of Mykolaiv. This video was published by pro-Ukrainian sources, and here we can see Russian drones flying over the settlement of Mykolaiv, and here we can see a black smoke over the city, which means that another object of energy infrastructure or of a fuel infrastructure was damaged and destroyed by Russians. Furthermore, the Russians dealt significant damage to the city of Zaporizhzhia. As of the previous night, dozens of drones the Russians used to attack the settlement. As you can see, several buildings were completely destroyed. We can see fire teams trying to extinguish the fire as a result of the overnight attack. So the situation in the city of Zaporizhzhia remains critical. I would like to remind you that the Ukrainians used the city of Zaporizhzhia and the city of Dnipro as the main logistic hubs to supply and support their forces along the line of combat contact. As for these Zaporizhzhia and Dnipro directions, during the previous 24 hours we received a very important update. The Ukrainians announced evacuation from these villages. As you can see, this is the Dnipro direction. The Ukrainians announced complete and total evacuation of these villages, which means that the Ukrainians are planning to use these buildings and these villages as places to deploy their troops before the beginning of the Russian major Dnipro offensive operation. These days we have a lot of changes in this area, and these changes are coming from the Dobropolye direction. According to information we have, during the previous day, the Russians managed to improve their positions around the settlement of Serhiivka. For example, this is the situation by the end of the 16th of June of 2026, and this is the beginning of the 17th of June. The Russians, as you can see, improved their positions significantly around the settlement of Novopavlivka. This is something like a Novopavlivka flower that has bloomed. The Russians from these positions began advancing in the northern direction, trying to outflank the settlement of Serhiivka. Furthermore, the Russians, or first sabotage and reconnaissance groups, managed to answer the southeastern part of the settlement of Ravnopolye, and the Russian sabotage and reconnaissance groups answered also the eastern part of the settlement of Kolona Mizhova. If Russians continue, the defenses of Mizhova could collapse and the Russians will answer an operational space, and this is the reason why the Ukrainians evacuated these villages. The Ukrainians most likely would try to create a defense layer through these villages with the purpose to slow down the Russians and not to allow them to continue advancing further in the direction of the river of Dnipro. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the city of Kostiantynivka. During the previous 12 hours, lots of articles were published on the matter of the situation. Pro-Ukrainian sources confirmed that the Ukrainians have lost the battle for the city of Kostiantynivka. Now the Ukrainians are trying to organize the evacuation of troops and stabilizing the situation between the villages, between the cities of Alexeyevo, Druzhkivka and Druzhkivka. Now let's talk about the Lyman direction. During the previous nights, the most important updates we received exactly from this area. First of all, let's talk about the territory to the east of the city of Slaviansk. The map, as you can see, has been adjusted. This is the end of the 16th of June and this is the beginning of the 17th of June, and this video was published by pro-Russian sources, and here we can see how the Russians were fighting for these small villages, and we can see lots of episodes how Russians were attacking vehicles and temporary deployment points of the armed force Ukraine through this territory. And in the final part of this video we can see at least 3 places, 3 buildings where the Russians raised their flags. Based on this video we have adjusted the map. So once again, this is the end of the 16th and this is the beginning of the 17th of June of 2026. The Russians continue improving their positions along the river of Seversky Donetsk, and the Russians continue their offensive operation towards the settlement of Mykolaivka. As for the settlement of Mykolaivka, the Russians continue bombing this settlement with aviation. This is the last stronghold to the east of the city of Slaviansk, and if Ukrainians lose control over this stronghold, the Russians will answer the city of Slaviansk from the east. Now let's talk about the city of Lyman. We have significant changes, as you can see, and these are the changes between the dates. So this is the end of the 14th of June of 2026, and this is when everything started, when the total collapse of defenses of the armed forces of Ukraine through the city of Lyman began. So this is the end of the 15th of June. The Russians improved their positions through the eastern parts of the city. This is the end of the 16th of June. The Russians improved their positions through the northern parts, and basically yesterday the Russians managed to cut the city into several pieces, and by the morning of the 17th of June the map was once again adjusted significantly based on the reports that were published by different sources, by different reliable sources, and based on the video that was published by pro-Russian sources this morning on the 17th of June of 2026. And here we can see Russian soldiers that were moving through the city of Lyman through its different parts, and in the final part of this video we can see a Russian soldier that raised the Russian flag in the most southern parts of the settlement. So the last episode where the Russian flag took place right exactly at this point, and this video and all these videos confirm that the defense of the city of Lyman has collapsed completely. The Ukrainians most likely have several pockets of resistance even through the territories that were colored in red, but obviously the days of these pockets and the days of the city of Lyman under control of the armed forces of Ukraine are numbered. The Ukrainians right now are trying to regroup and to move further in the western direction towards the villages on the Ukrainian side of the river of Seversky Donetsk, but the Russians are bombing and attacking the main logistic lines, the main evacuation roads, with the purpose not to allow the Ukrainians to escape this encirclement. As you can see in these videos, lots of river crossings and pontoon bridges were destroyed by Russians. The situation for the Ukrainians in this area remains critical. The Russians are about to begin the battle for the northern parts of the city of Slaviansk itself. As for the northern directions, during the previous 12 hours nothing special was recorded, just with one exception. The Russians, another day in a row, improved their positions through the Kazachi Lopan. This is the situation by the end of the 14th of June of 2026, and this is the moment when also everything started through this direction. During the 15th of June we received the report that Russians improved their positions through the northern parts, but without confirmation. And during the 16th and during the 17th of June we received lots of updates confirming that the Russians continue advancing, and the Russians continue advancing through the city itself. The Russians continue their offensive operation, and probably in coming days the Russians will announce complete control over the settlement of Kazachi Lopan, which could lead to unpredictable consequences to the armed forces of Ukraine and to the northern defenses of the city of Kharkiv itself. And that's it for the short video. The military summary channel reminds to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for your watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.